Has anyone lived an actual porn scenario? Plumber, delivery person, nanny, etc.? What's your story? I was a pizza guy for 3 years. Delivered to this one cute girl. Anyhow, handed her the pizza, had her sign, and while she did, she poked her booty out quite nicely. Then she had my attention. But typical me didn't make any conversation. She handed me back the receipt, asked if I had a FB. I said no, but I can give you my phone number. Minutes after I got in my car, she texted me talking dirty stuff. So when I got off my shift, I came back over and it happened. Didn't happen on the spot, but I came back and got the job done shortly after. It counts, right? Similar, but not. I delivered pizzas for a company with John in the name. Delivered to a cute girl one night. She mentioned that her grandfather's name was John, and might she buy my hat to give to him as a gift. I said sure, but the company will charge me $20 to replace it, so I'll sell it for that much. She said that she didn't have that much cash on her, but maybe there was some other way she could pay? Naive me thought for a moment, said, sorry, no, and went back to the store. 2 hours later, it finally occurred to me what she meant. Of course, I never got her as a customer again. I am not a smart man. Closest I got was when I was at university. One morning in my room, not shared rooms, sorry, I was experimenting with self-bondage and was naked with my legs tied together on my bed. I hear a knock on the door and freeze. Hardly anyone ever knocked for me. They would just text me or something. I decide to stay silent and pretend I'm not in when I hear a knock again. A few seconds later, and suddenly I hear keys jangling in my lock. Instead of doing something sensible like shouting, "Just a moment," or something, I simply fling my bed cover over myself and pretend to be asleep, although totally nude, my legs tied together and a vibrator under the sheets with me. My door opens and a maintenance guy walks in. Spots me pretending to be waking up and apologizes. He brings in his ladder, sets it up right next to my bed so he can tinker with the fire alarm. I just cower under my sheets the whole time, wanting to die. Well, I guess my mom and stepdad were in one. He was a handyman who came over to fix our dishwasher. Next thing I knew, he was coming over nightly. 2 weeks in, I asked my mom, "Why don't you just replace the darn dishwasher? I'm sick of this guy over every night." Not your typical porn scenario, but it was pretty awesome. So one summer when I was about 14 or 15, there was this girl who lived down the street who would always come over and ask me to go for, quote, bike rides. These bike rides consisted of us just biking down the street to this field/park where she would give me a blowjob. She used to be obsessed with sucking my dick and eventually told all her girlfriends how fun it was and how they should try it. So that summer, her and her friends would invite me over to their houses and give me blowjobs. Haha. Had many threesomes that summer. Best summer ever. I install cable for Time Warner. First job of the day is swapping a cable box for this cute black woman. She's just in her robe and she's giving me the eye the whole time I'm there. She gets a call from some guy and they're arguing and I can tell it's an ex or something. She hangs up and apologizes for getting into it with him. She tells me he's white, I'm a shy little white guy, and that she loves white boys. I'm all finished and wrap up with my usual, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" She motions to me to come over and starts running my cock through my pants. I'm instantly hard and she pulls it out and sucks the shit out of my dick. Full-on porn star blowjob, spitting on it, gagging, moaning, the whole 9 yards. I finish on her tits and we look at each other like we can't believe that just happened. I zip up and she tells me she's 43 and has a son about my age. She looked like she was 25 and I was in total shock. Made me feel weird, so I left without getting her number. I went to a friend's wedding in another country. As I arranged to go at the last minute, I could not find a hotel room for the night. My friend's divorced mother offered that I stay at her house. I've only seen her mother a couple of times before, but accepted to stay over. After everyone left to their hotel rooms, her mom and I were alone. A few drinks later, we were naked on the couch, and a few minutes later, we were in the bedroom. Best 3-day weekend away in a long time. I got home from the hardware store one time and my wife was just on the couch in skimpy lingerie. That was pretty cool. I was seeing this hot French au pair who was staying at another French au pair's family's home when we all went on a night out. The family were out, I hasten to add. Got the nod to come back with her, knowing that the two of us were going to do what we do. I was happy. Anyway, we're getting busy an hour or so after us all getting home. It was no secret what we were doing, when out the corner of my eye, I catch au pair number 2 using with her one of her toys in the doorway. She sees me see her and asks, "I'm horny, can I join in?" I freeze, not knowing what to do, when au pair number 1 says, "Sure, best night ever." I slept with my organic chemistry tutor. More than once. He was just so nice. It turns out he wasn't very good at chemistry, though. A few weeks into it, I realized some of the things he was teaching me were completely wrong. So that was the end of that. I'm a chef in a fine dining restaurant in the casino. The kitchen is completely open with a bar going around the front, so we get people sitting at the bar talking with us while we cook. It actually happens fairly often that we get lonely cougars that will sit there and drink and flirt all night with me or the sous chef, eventually trying to get one of us to go back to their room with them when we're off. I've never done it because I'm married, but there have been a few that I would have loved to have spent the night with, but end up running straight home and jumping my wife after getting worked up from the flirting. In college, I go home for the summer and live with my parents while working a summer job. I run out of checks one day and walk into a local branch of my national bank to order more. I'm pointed into an office where a girl just a little older than I am is sitting behind a desk. She sees me and smiles. While ordering the checks, we get to small talk and I find out she's new to the area and has just graduated. The bank job is her first right out of school. We begin to flirt a bit and I notice how damn good she looks in blazer. Finally, she asks for my address to put on the check headers and I give her my home address. She freezes, smiles, and then tells me she just moved in down the street from me. We laugh about it and I tell her a few things about my lifelong neighbors. It was almost 5 and she told me that if I wanted to wait around, she was going to grab a beer after work. I did. We fucked in the bank parking lot less than 20 minutes later, and then almost every night for the rest of the summer. I was moving to a new apartment after a breakup, so I had all of my stuff as well as my ex's stuff because he had taken off to go find himself in Bali, leaving me to handle all these arrangements. Emotionally vulnerable is too mild of a term to describe me on that day. Anyway, I hired a moving company that was kind of a hot mess. Told me they had insurance, then said it expired, showed up an hour late, etc. But they were 2 really nice guys who worked quickly. They also happened to be super hot. So we get to my new apartment and they're moving stuff in. I left briefly to go pick up pizza for all of us to eat once they were done. When I got back, the owner, and hotter of the two, told me very apologetically that they had forgotten my bed frame at the old apartment. Oh no. But he said he'd go back and pick it up and drop it off later that evening after their next moving job if it was all right with me. He texts me when he's heading back with the bed frame and mild flirting ensues. He drops it off and stands awkwardly at the door. I ask if he wants a drink. We both get hammered on Red Bull and raspberry vodka, don't judge, I had just moved, and fucked on my couch. Now that I think about this, I, early 20s, went to a woman's late 40s house to fix her computer and ended up plowing her later. On her bed in front of a mirror. Was pretty good. Did it the next few times she needed service. I was living in an off-campus rental during part of college. The landlord hired a local paint/decorating business to have new window blinds installed. The girl who came to put them up, I was there by myself waiting, was cute, friendly, and flirted while standing on the ladder with me sitting on the edge of the bed, watching and making small talk. At one point, she put the drill and screwdriver down and small talk became no talk. But unlike a porn scenario, we dated for a few months thereafter. Almost. I was a pizza delivery guy many years ago. I had a delivery just outside our delivery zone, but did it anyway. The address turns out to be a super sketchy motel off the highway. I knock on the hotel room door and a very haggard-looking prostitute answers the door. $24.50, I say. We don't have any money, she said. Behind her was a second one, laying on the bed, just as old and haggard-looking as the one in the doorway. She said I could have my way with them in exchange for the pizza. I immediately turned around, got back in the car, and was off on my next adventure. This one time, me and a couple buddies were sitting around my little one-bedroom apartment smoking out and playing Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine on the old-school Sega when someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find this cute little blonde asking if she could use my phone because her car had broken down just up the street. This was in 1996, prior to cell phones being as prevalent as they are now. I, of course, obliged. She came in and picked up the phone and appeared to be making a phone call but claimed nobody answered. She then asked me if I could show her around my apartment. It was a small one-bedroom, one-bath place, so naturally I shouted her the kitchen, living room, bathroom, and my one bedroom. She immediately shut the bedroom door, locked it, and then took her top off. After performing my civic duty, she proceeded to tell me that her sister just lived up the road and she saw me while visiting her sis the other day and the whole car broken down thing was a ruse. She left and I never saw her again. However, a few days later, I found her panties that she must have left as a prize for me stuffed inside of my pillowcase. Once I was hiking with a friend of mine. We'd been out for about 2 weeks of backpacking and camping through the July sun. So as you can imagine, he and I were both sweaty, smelly, and bearded. By the end of a particularly tough day, we were dead tired and decided to hike down the mountain along a road to go buy some more food in a nearby town. On the way down the mountain, we run into a car pulled over on the side of the road, obviously experiencing some mechanical problems. The car was driven by two gorgeous college co-eds on their way to the beach or lake for the weekend, wearing nothing but bikini tops and Daisy Dukes as they pranced around their smoking vehicle trying to figure out what was wrong. As we drew closer, a police cruiser pulls over 25 yards behind them to offer assistance. The door opens and out steps not a grizzled old veteran detective or state trooper, but a 20-something lady cop who's just as hot as the two girls. I turn to my buddy and give him a look as if to say, "This is the most porno situation I'll ever be in my life. Don't fuck this up for me." He looks me right back in the eye and nods. We both know what we have to do. We gird our collective loins and approach the trio of gorgeous women, now circled around the raised hood of the car, inspecting the smoking engine. We approach within hearing distance. The sexual tension is palpable as we nervously call out, "Hey ladies, need a hand?" The lady cop turns to face us. She lowers her aviators to peer over the upper rim at the two hairy degenerates before her, and tells us that she has the situation under control, and that we shouldn't be walking along the shoulder of a state highway. We hightail it out of there, our dreams of an epic fivesome crushed. We get ice cream instead, and that sort of makes up for it.